All right, New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu is a vocal and ardent supporter of Nikki Haley. He joins us now. Governor, welcome. Glad to have you here. Polls show that Nikki Haley is hurtling towards something she's never experienced before in South Carolina, a defeat, a resounding defeat. She's proudly boasted that she's never lost in her home state, and polls show her losing by her biggest margin yet. So what are you hoping for tomorrow? What will be a victory, even if it's a loss when it comes to the number of votes counted?
Well, the most important point is Nikki's going on to Super Tuesday, right? So whether you lose by 50, lose by 1, Trump's going to claim that it was a landslide no matter what. But Nikki's the one raising the money, has the resources, is going to make sure that Republicans across this country have a choice. I know Trump just wants the party elites. He's kind of this establishment guy now, this victim, you know, in the courts and all that. But at the end of the day, this is all about making sure that the Republican voters have a choice. She's raising a lot of money, regardless of what the polls are and what the final results are. She's going to campaign hard door to door in the rest of the other 18 states or whatever it is, including South Carolina, and make sure that there's really something there for the voters on Super Tuesday. That's it. I mean, it's quite that simple, and that's what people want, right? They don't want party elites. They don't want a primary just coming down to 1 or 2 states. It really should come down to a large number of states, a large number of voters, so they can have their say.
I want to get your reaction to something one Republican voter said today. One Republican voter who had actually voted for Haley in the past reportedly said of Donald Trump, quote, "Yes, he's the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving, but right now America needs the crazy uncle, not the snowflake niece." I'm not sure if she's implying that Nikki Haley is the snowflake niece, but what do you make of that?
Well, look, Nikki is a strong conservative. There's no question about it. Nikki brings not just the right policies to the table, but the ability to get it done. That's what folks have to realize. It's not just winning the primary, right? It's about winning in the general election, winning House and Senate seats, which she would do for the rest of the party. Trump can't do that, right? He's lost us so many seats in the past, so he's got a terrible record there. And then the record of actually getting something done. Trump didn't get it done. He had Republicans in the House and the Senate, and he still didn't do immigration reform and border security and balance the budget and be fiscally responsible. He didn't do any of that stuff that he said Governor, he was going to do.
For whatever reason, that doesn't seem to be resonating with Republican voters right now. He is winning, and he's winning big. So why is she staying in? Is she banking on something bad happening to Donald Trump? Because many of her supporters are saying, if Trump is convicted of a felony, for example, in one of these upcoming trials, that he would begin to lose support. Is that what you're banking on?
No, look, this is politics, and anything can happen. If you're going to say that, you know, we're the underdog and we're down in the first quarter, so I guess we don't need to play the rest of the game, right? That's silly. No, of course not. You play the game out. Anything can happen at any time. There's still a long way to go here. So this idea that just because you're down and you've lost the first couple of states, so I guess you should just give up. She's got the resources. She's got a lot of opportunity in some of these other states where the campaigns really haven't even gotten underway. So for anyone saying that you got to just get out of the race just because Donald Trump says so, that's ridiculous. That's silly. This is a primary. You got to let this stuff play out. That's what she's doing, and she's making sure that folks have a choice. It's great.
Okay, I want to ask you about something else that's really been roiling your party this past week, and you are one of the big, sort of prominent lights stars of the Republican Party right now. The vast majority, it's this Alabama Supreme Court ruling on IVF. The vast majority of Americans support access to IVF. Even most opponents of abortion support IVF. But this Alabama Supreme Court ruling that embryos are children has really put Republicans in a spot. Nikki Haley says she supports IVF, but she also thinks an embryo is a child. So if that's the case, what do you do with the 1 to 5 million frozen embryos in this country?
So understand the Alabama ruling applies to Alabama, right? And Nikki has been very clear. She supports IVF. She thinks the ruling was a mistake, and it's a ruling in those states. This is the new world, right? After Roe v. Wade, every state is going to have their path. And California might be different than Alabama, might be different than New Hampshire. I disagree with that, what that judge and that ruling was. I know Nikki disagrees with that. But the folks in Alabama are going to have to decide whether they agree with that or not. My guess is they don't. And there's going to be a strong push to make a change there in one way or another, whether it's in leadership or the judges or whatever it is. But understand that over the next few years, you're going to see various states look at various things in the courts, in legislation, as they now really drive the boat on reproductive rights and all of this sort of thing. So again, Nikki's been very clear. She supports the access to IVF. She disagrees with that decision, but that's something really that Alabama's going to have to take up.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.